Alright, so this is my entire Click DVD collection. In a video, we're going to be looking at all the Click DVDs I own. The whole collection is on screen now, as is usual. You can probably see it. I'd imagine you'd be able to because I put it on screen. But yeah, anyway, let's just get started. I guess starting off with. So this is Click on DVD. It's a 2006 film starring Adam Sandler where he gets like this remote and it can pause, it can fast forward his life, it can like. It controls his life. It's cool. It says, what if you had a universal remote that controlled your universe? That's basically the premise. So Adam Sandler has a remote and it can pause things and it can control his life. And that's essentially the film. Let's take a look at the disc. That's the remote from the film. This apparently cost £1 from AKEX somewhere, wherever this came from. I don't know if I bought it from there or if it just came from there originally. Either way, that was Click on DVD. So moving on, we're going to move on to. So this is Click on DVD, and this is actually an interesting copy because see it's kind of stained. This is the copy that I brought with me to Dubai because you got to get pics with it. You can't just leave it with you. You got to bring it with you. So we've got some pics of it. I could probably find some actually. Pics of it on the plane. Pics of it at the top of the the big building. Anyway, let's look at the back. So it's a film where, Adam Sandler has a remote and it can control his life and he gets into some quirky shenanigans. Take a look at the disc. So that's that's the remote from the film. Also, I'm pretty sure that's like the different language title there. But yeah, that's essentially the basic premise of the film. Anyway, moving on. Next we have. So this is Click on DVD. This is actually the Region 1 US release. It's a special edition there, which is slightly different to the Region 2 UK release. It's got a blue background as opposed to a white one. It's the same image, but taking a look at the disc. First off, it's on the other side, but it's still a remote, but it's a different picture of the remote, and the disc is slightly different. Anyway, taking a look at the back, you can see there Region 1. It's got subtitles, also deleted scenes, and a whole bunch of epic bonus features that I guess make it special edition. But yeah, this is basically like it's a film where Adam Sandler has this remote, and that remote can control his life, so he can like fast forward things, he can go back, he can do all this quirky stuff, and he gets into some silly little shenanigans, and then he's all sad, but then everything's okay because it was a dream. Just spoiled the entire movie. But it came out in 2006. You should have seen it. Anyway, next up we have a disc-only rental version of Click, which is from lovefilm.com, which was a DVD rental website that unsurprisingly is shut down now. But yeah, this is interesting because it came from a place that doesn't exist anymore. It still has the sticker on there. It's just like the normal version of the film, but it's a rental copy, and it's also from lovefilm.com. Can't really show off the box because it did not come with box. It just came in this little sleeve here. But yeah, it is still a very interesting piece of the collection. Anyway, moving on. So this is Click on DVD. Now this is the, I think it's the Nordic copy of Click on DVD. You see it's all in, just like Norwegian. What language is this? I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, let's take a look at the disc. It's the same as the Region 1 disc. But basically this is so it's a film where Adam Sandler has this remote, and the remote can control his life, so he can pause, he can fast forward, and he gets into a bunch of wacky shenanigans, and then it's all okay in the end. But yeah, this cover art's also different again. It's different to the UK and the US release. We've got Adam Sandler here, and he's still just Mr. Beastified and really smoothed out for some reason. And also he's holding the remote, and it doesn't really make much logical sense because he's clearly holding it upside down. Do we have a remote here? But he's holding it that way. So that means that this text is upside down, because you see how this says source? If I was holding it that way, that's upside down. So he has a remote, but the text is upside down. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially if the buttons are the other way. They're fine, but let's just move on. So next up we actually have Click on DVD. Now this one's interesting because you can see it looks a bit weird, right? Apparently it was £5 at one point. But this is actually a bootleg copy of Click. You can see this clearly doesn't look official, in any way. What is this font? But yeah, let's take a look at the disc. On the inside, it has the cover for Casino Royale for some reason. And take a look at the disc. If we pop that out, yeah. But basically, if I put this disc in, it's just the same as the regular release, so it's just a clone of the actual DVD, but cheaper. It's £5 to be exact, I guess. Anyway, moving on. Next, we actually have Click on DVD. Now, this one's also interesting because this one's also a bootleg DVD, but it's different to the last one because this is a cam copy. So this was recorded in the theaters in 2006 when people were witnessing Click for the first time. Let's take a look at the back. Once again, clearly not official. It says Region 4 as well, but it's clearly not because it plays on my Region 2 player. But yeah, this is also in like 240p, and we also hear the crowd's reaction to iconic Click moments we all know and love. But yeah, there's also a second hole there for whatever reason. So there's the bootleg copy of Click. So moving on, next up we actually have a Click on DVD. Now this is a rental copy, which is similar to the lovefilm.com one, but this time it's actually got a case. It says rental copy. If you look at the side, it's off, or presumably rental. The back is the same. It's the same thing, but it's a rental copy pretty much. And looking on the inside, this is actually not the rental disc because we've seen it literally says not for rental on it. This is just the normal disc. So I bought this, but it just had the normal disc in it. So moving on, I guess. Next up, we actually have Click on DVD. And this is a rental copy. It was apparently £2.50 from wherever this originally came from. And it says rental copy, see? And let's open it up. Also, the case here is different. It's usually a black one. This is actually a rental copy. This is also from lovefilm.com. But this time we have a case. You see, it's the same exact disc as the other lovefilm.com one. So yeah, this is the rental copy of Click. As you can see, it says rental copy, resale, blah, blah, blah. And it's shiny. It's different to the original disc. But yeah, basically this film's about Adam Sandler, and he's got this remote, and it can control his life, and he gets into all wacky shenanigans. And eventually everything's okay. But yeah, moving on. So next up we actually have Click on VHS, which did not release in the UK. It did release in South Korea, because South Korea got late VHS releases, but I had to make this because I have a VCR, so I could just do it. This is just the DVD box up, and I've like reformatted it. Anyway, let's take a look at the tape here. Yep, that's it. It's Click. It's moldy. Yep. So let's Click on VHS. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we actually have a Click on Blu-ray, and this is the Nordic Blu-ray, and it's sealed. It came sealed, so I'm just not going to open it because chances are I'll just get another one eventually. I can't read this, but basically, Adam Sandler has this remote and it can control his life, and he gets into a bunch of wacky little shenanigans, and it's all silly, and then it's sad, and then he's all okay in the end. But yeah, we can't take a look at the disc, but this is a slim case. This is thinner than like the regular Click Blu-ray, which I haven't shown off yet. But yeah, that was Click on Blu-ray, but like the Nordic version. Yeah, moving on. Next up, we have Click on Blu-ray, which is like, it's this film where Adam Sandler has a remote, and the remote can actually control his life, and he gets into all these wacky little shenanigans, and then he's really happy. He's like, this is cool, and then a bunch of sad stuff starts happening, and he's wasting his life, and then it's all okay in the end because it was a dream. But yeah, looking at the back, we have all this information. It's not for rental. And then we have the disc, which says Click, which, you know, it sure is. Also comes with a little booklet here. We've got some cool art of Adam Sandler there. Experience more with Blue. So we've got all these epic statistics. This was in, like, the Click came out in 2006, but this Blu-ray, at least in the UK, like, came out in 2007. The Blu-ray wasn't really out for a long time before this, so this was like a fairly old Blu-ray. So moving on, we actually have Click for PSP, which is you put them in your PSP, the PlayStation Portable, Sony's handheld console from like 2004/5, depending where you live. And it's just the movie, also rental or resale, but it's on the PSP, so you watch it on the go. And we've also got this little pamphlet here, which we'll take a look at. So it doesn't come with the bonus features, but it is DVD quality. Essentially, because this is significantly smaller than a regular DVD, they couldn't fit as much on it. So it's just the movie, but still fairly good quality. Let's take a look at this now. All the movies you want to see. This is not all the movies I want to see, but alright. And then we've got the instructions on how to use it. you put it in and you press play, pretty much. And we also have this. PSP is here. As if you didn't already know that buying this. I've got all this cool stuff. Advertisement for the PSP. So that was Click for PSP UMD. Anyway, moving on. Next we actually have a free film box set. Comes with Click, Big Daddy and The Longest Yard. Looking on the back, we've got descriptions of them all. So, it's just a regular Click disc, but it comes with 2 others now in this bundle here. So it's this film where Adam Sandler gets this magical remote from a guy in Bed Bath and Beyond, and he's like, whoa, I can control my life, but then it starts to kind of control his life, and he doesn't like it, and he's sad, and he dies, and then he wakes up, and it's all okay. It's wholesome movie. So yeah, moving on. So next up we actually have, so this is Click on DVD, and this was apparently £1 from a Kex at one point. So this is like, it's a film where basically Adam Sandler gets this remote, you can see it there, from this guy, when he goes to Bed Bath and Beyond, because his remote's all work, he's like, oh, I wish I had a remote for everything, and then he gets one from, for some reason, Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know if that would have been my first choice to get a TV remote, but he gets one. And it actually controls his life, so he gets into a bunch of quirky shenanigans. He's like, whoa, this is cool, I have a remote and it can control my life. And then it starts to control his life too much. He's like, wait, no, I don't want it to do this actually. And then he goes fast forward in time, and then he dies. It's sad, but then it's okay because it was all a dream, so none of it was real. And then he's super wholesome, happy, chungus ending. So yeah, that was Click on DVD. Anyway, moving on. Next up we actually have Click on DVD, and this was also £1 apparently at one point. I think it is still £1 if you buy them now. Fairly reasonable price to pay for 2006 Adam Sandler Click, where Adam Sandler gets a remote, and that remote can actually like control his life, but then it controls it a little too much and he doesn't like it. So then he's like, I actually don't want this to do this anymore, but it doesn't stop, and then eventually Adam Sandler fast forwards so far that he dies. And then it was all a dream, so it's okay. But yeah, we've got like Adam Sandler, and he's holding the remote on the cover there, and on the back we have him holding the remote again. Also comes with cast and crew commentary, deleted scenes, and featurettes. Very cool. It's also a cracking comedy treat. It sure is. Anyway, there's a disc with the remote, and also the name in different language, but I don't know what the language is. Anyway, moving on, we next have the 2006 Adam Sandler movie Click on DVD. So this is a film about Adam Sandler getting this remote that can like control his life, and it gets him into a whole bunch of trouble. A whole bunch of wacky shenanigans occur, but it's all okay because it was a dream anyway. But yeah, that's it, you know. Looking at the disc here, this case is actually different to the others. I think this is not the original case. You can see the side, it doesn't have the like middle part, but also the inside is clearly very different. So someone replaced the case at some point, as we've seen from the others. But yeah, that's Click on DVD. So moving on, next up we actually have a Click on DVD. So this is a film about Adam Sandler, and he gets this remote, and it can actually like control his life. So he starts using it. He gets into a bunch of whole quirky little shenanigans. You know, he mutes his wife, like epic moment. He's kind of just a prick. I'm not really rooting for him, honestly. He fast forward time. He farts in the face of the guy from the SpongeBob movie. This also, for some reason, has free Sony stickers on it. Like, if I do actually happen to own 2 copies, but that's got one for some reason. This has 3. Was that a misprint? What happened there? So yeah, this is like 3 times certified real. Maybe this makes it rarer because it's a misprint. But yeah, that's Adam Sandler holding a remote from the film. Let's take a look at the disc now. So this is the disc, and this actually comes with a pamphlet, which is interesting. And it's got the chapter selection from the movie with this image here. Still don't like how life menu's that way. Anyway, yeah, Start, Exploding Stress, Bed and Bath, Way Beyond. We've just got all the chapters. There's 27 chapters apparently. And then we've got adverts for other movies that you can buy on DVD. And then on the back we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. Isn't that good? We just put our full name and address, our age, number of children we have, which of these we watch DVDs on. Where do I watch DVDs on? None of these, really. They surprisingly didn't put the PS5 on here. That's crazy. Where do you buy DVDs? HMV, Virgin, Woolworth, WH. I think, how many of these still... Oh yeah, I buy them from Blockbuster, yeah. But how many of these still exist? Supermarkets don't really sell them anymore. I think it's only like Asda, maybe Tesco. Internet still does. Blockbuster, yeah. HMV still does. Anyway, how many DVDs do you anticipate buying in the next year? Probably more than 51 if we're being realistic. I own more than 51 of this one fucking film, so yeah. And what type of film do you enjoy? I don't know. Please tick. I'm not reading all that. When does this expire? Does this expire? Surely. Alright, yeah. 30th of June 2007. So yeah, surprisingly this has expired. We can't win our 20 fantastic DVDs, which is, you know, a travesty, really. But moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD. So this is a film about Adam Sandler, and he gets a remote, and it can actually like control his life. You see all the options here. He can play golf. I don't particularly remember him enjoying golf in the movie, but he can do that. He can mute his mother-in-law, which is epic. He can delete his parking tickets. I don't know how many remotes have a delete button. I guess like cable boxes, but he can pause his kids growing up so that they eternally stay youthful and also alive, so that when the heat death of the universe happens, they're stuck forever in eternal pain. He can fast forward working out. He can slow-mo his vacation. He can skip his hangover, and he can rewind to prom night. Epic. Not sure why there's a rewind button there and then a specific rewind to prom night button there, but whatever. Anyway, looking at the back, we actually have him holding a remote there. And there's the guy from the SpongeBob movie. There's Adam Sandler's wife in the movie. And then we have the subtitles, which is a lot of them, really. And then we have the languages and stuff. And it's actually a cracking comedy treat, which I didn't know. Looking at the disc, that's the remote from the film there. And also we've got all the logos and stuff that, just cover the art, really. Kind of a nuisance. Anyway, moving on. Next we actually have Click on DVD. So this is a film about Adam Sandler, who plays guy Michael Newman. Yeah. He works, and he's like, I don't want to work, but I do. I just want to work for more money. So he skips forward, and he gets the promotion, but he doesn't actually get the promotion. So he farts in his boss's face, and then he skips forward for like the anti. He makes his guy from SpongeBob movie boss like big and inflated in the sexual harassment meeting like thing, like conference or whatever. And he starts laughing, which is not great timing. But yeah, this is the back. And taking a look at the disc, that's actually the remote from the film. That's what it looks like, which is pretty interesting. So anyway, moving on. Next we actually have a Click on DVD, which is like, it's a film about Adam Sandler, as you can see here. His name's there. And he gets this remote, as you can see here, and his remote can control his universe. And it keeps fast forwarding stuff, and it keeps like skipping his life, and he's not happy. But then eventually he dies, and it was all a dream, and he wakes up, and it's all okay. But yeah, that's the film. It's also a cracking comedy treat. Don't know if you knew that. Anyway, taking a look at the disc, that's the remote from the film. That's what it looks like. It doesn't actually say Click on it. That's just for the disc. We also have a pamphlet here, which these appear to be the chapters from the movie. So we've got like Start, Exploding Stress, Bed and Bath, and all this stuff. There's a total of 27 chapters, so we've got this like stock art, which I've seen multiple times. And if you enjoy this title, they recommend we try these, which is very nice of them. Very nice to know. So maybe I will. We can also win 20 fantastic DVDs. I reckon this competition's already ended. Does it say? Our terms and conditions are down here. Okay, ended in 2007, so we can't win 20 fantastic DVDs. Isn't that a travesty? Anyway, I guess we'll just move on from that, which is very sad. So next up we actually have, so this is Click on DVD, and it's basically this film where Adam Sandler here, he gets this remote, this remote to be specific, and it can control his life. You can see here he's got all these options. He can mute his mother-in-law, which is epic. This is his life menu, so he could do whatever he wants. He could pause time, and like, I don't know what you could do if you pause time. Just could you do anything? If you pause time, wouldn't you be moving at like such an insanely fast pace that like it would break the universe or something? Like if you moved your finger, wouldn't it have moved at like 1 billion miles an hour? What would happen? Would you just like what would happen? What about matches? If you like move a match across the thing, does it just immediately ignite, or will it only ignite when you press like play? Because nothing can move, right? Can you fly? Can things fly? Because nothing's moving. But anyway, yeah. So he gets a remote, can control his life, but then he starts doing all this silly, wacky stuff, and Adam Sandler doesn't like it, but he can't stop it because he's like punishment, I guess, for not valuing his life. Then he dies. Cracking comedy treat, by the way. Then he dies, and his entire family's there crying and watching him die. Cracking comedy treat, by the way. And then he wakes up, and it was all a dream, and he still has his family, and he values them, and he learned a valuable lesson. Although, like, it wasn't really... Was it his fault that the remote did that? I guess it was his fault that he was skipping his life. He would just, like, took about 20 years off his life still. Anyway, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film where Adam Sandler, Michael Newman, gets this remote, and the remote can actually control his life. See, it says life menu there. He gets it from this guy, Morty, and he just, like, gives him a remote because he goes to Bed Bath & Beyond to look for a remote for some reason. I don't know why that would be your first choice, but he does, and he gets one in the Beyond section from the name. And then it controls his life, and then he's like, I actually don't like this. I don't like that it's skipping my entire fucking life. And then it's too late, buddy. And then he dies. Cracking comedy treat. But yeah, taking a look at the disc, we got that's the remote from the film. Doesn't actually say Click on it, but we also got the translated title there in a language I don't know. Looking at the spine, it says Click, and there's Adam Sandler, and it's his wife in the movie. And then the rating, which is a 12. So moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is apparently £1 from wherever this originally came from. Well, it probably wasn't. It's probably, when it was new, it wouldn't have been, but this came from a Kex at one point. Don't know if I bought it from there or if it just like came from there, from eBay or something. But this is Click. It's a film about Adam Sandler who gets this remote, and the remote can actually control his life. And it gets into a bunch of silly little shenanigans. There's this epic part where he turns green, and then he turns back to his normal race, which isn't green, surprisingly. And then he slows down this woman running so he can look at late epic boobs, and that's really epic. But then he goes into his business meeting, and he like skips a bunch of stuff so he can get promotion, but then he doesn't, so he farts in his boss's face. Then he like skips his life. He gets really fat, and then he gets skinny again. And then he dies, and his family's there crying. And then it was all a dream, so it's all okay. The first half of this movie is pretty wacky, Adam Sandler silly fun, some wacky goofy stuff. But then the second half is fucking miserable, pretty much. But yeah, that was Click on DVD. So moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film about Adam Sandler, and he gets a remote that, as it says, can control the universe. This one's covered in like shit stains, so not sure what's going on there, but I don't really want to touch it that much, so we'll just like kind of flip it over. Yeah, this is like mold. There's just it's infected. It's just growing mold and stuff. So yeah, not great. Maybe I'll have to pick up like a new copy of this sometime, like another one, so I can touch it and stuff. So maybe one day I'll get another Click. But I'm just gonna move on to the next film now, which is actually Click on DVD. So this is a film about Adam Sandler, and he gets this remote, and the remote can actually control like his life. See, he's got all the options there to control his life. He can play golf. Isn't that cool? Golf takes up a lot of space, right? It's like really inefficient. But yeah, we've got the actors there: Adam Sandler, who plays Michael Newman; Kate Beckinsale, who plays his wife; Christopher Walken, who plays not his wife. He plays Morty, the guy who sells him the remote in the Beyond, who's like God or something. I think he's God. Is that right? No, is he God or is he the devil? I think he's deaf or something. He's the devil or something. But this was apparently £2 from somewhere at some point, wherever this came from. I don't know where it came from. I think I probably got it off eBay, but it was £2 at one point. I think I got it for less. But yeah, that's the film. Let's take a look at the disc now. And there's the disc. This one comes with a pamphlet. That's interesting. Let's take a look at that. Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. Would you look at that? We should put in our name. I might do this, or is it expired? Oh, terms and conditions. Oh, you have to be over 18, okay. Launch, 30th of June 2007. Okay, so it has expired. Never mind then. I guess my dreams of winning 20 fantastic DVDs they've been shot down and killed. They're dead. Oh well, guess I'll just move on with my life. Anyway, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film where Adam Sandler here, he gets his remote, and the remote can like control his life. It can control time and stuff. He can actually go back in his life, but he can't change stuff, which is quite cool because like you'd have like the greatest memory ever. Like, well, what did I say to you in 1998 at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 20th of June? It was the 20th of June in 1998, a Tuesday. If it was, it's pretty mental, but probably not. And then you'd be like, oh, penis, that's what you said. Yeah, anyway, this was apparently 50p from A Cash Converters. I think I don't know. When I used to buy these, I would peel the stickers off. I don't still do that, but I don't think I got this from Cash Converters. I think I got this from a third party who got it from Cash Converters, and I think I actually paid more than 50p. So, anyway, take a look at the disc. That's actually the remote from the film on the disc. It's got it in a different language there. It's a 12 for... Why is it a 12, actually? Let's take a look at that. Oh, it contains strong language and moderate sex and drug references. It does. There's a whole running gag throughout the movie that the dog humps the duck, and then the dog dies, and the new dog still does it. Anyway, chapter selections, which is interesting. They put this here. It comes with 27 chapters. How long is the film? It's like an hour 47 minutes. Is it? How long is it? Does it say? No. Usually, an hour 43 minutes. Okay. But yeah, you got all those chapters. Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. That's interesting. We just have to mail it to Nottingham. All right. I guess I'll do that. Or it's probably expired, right? It has. It expired in 2007. Okay, never mind. I guess I'll never win 20 fantastic DVDs. Although nowadays it's relatively inexpensive. Like this was 50p. You get 20 fantastic DVDs for a tenner. In fact, you get a bundle. They're not necessarily going to be fantastic then, but you get a bundle for like 18 pence and a lollipop or something. Anyway, next up we have Click on DVD, which has this mark on it for some reason. I presume that's where like a sticker was at one point. Also here, it might be a Keck sticker actually, because usually they have one there and there. So that's interesting. Anyway, it's also got like shit stains on the back for some reason, but it's a cracking comedy treat. Basically, Adam Sandler is given a remote by this guy, and the remote, it controls his life, and it gets him into a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of silly shenanigans. You know, he turns himself green. So you should watch it because he turns himself green. Anyway, let's take a look at the inside here with the disc, which for some reason is backwards. Oh, there we go. There's a disc I know on left. So this is actually the remote from the film, and it doesn't actually say click on it usually, but it looks like this pretty much. Is that the fast forward button next to the slow mo button, and then the rewind button's there? Why doesn't that say fast forward? That says rewind. I don't like that. I don't like how it's not like next to it, but okay. Or whatever. I don't care about the design of the remote from 2006 Adam Sandler movie Click. Anyway, moving on. Next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is like this film where Adam Sandler gets a remote and it can control his universe, which is why it says, what if you had a universal remote that controlled your universe? That's why they put that on there. This clearly came from like Keck. At one point there was a sticker there. It's in the same place, same shape. And this is actually like a film where Adam Sandler gets a remote and he controls his universe, and it gets from this guy, and then a bunch of wacky stuff happens, and he doesn't like it because it's ruining his life, but he can't stop it because it was given to him by the devil. And then he dies, but it was all a dream, so it's okay. And then he's tempted again at the end, by the way. The remote appears on his kitchen counter, and he's like, I just fucking died. I'm not doing this again. And he throws it away, and he lives happily ever after with his wife and his children, and then I don't know what happens. They never made Click 2, which is truly tragic, honestly. Anyway, for some reason, this disc is also backwards, and it looks slightly different to the other one, but what the fuck is this? Well, I've never noticed this till now, but this is apparently the Steven Spielberg film, Catch Me If You Can. Great. Also, transparent 12 there. Okay. Well, we've got this now. So this is, I I don't know what this film's about. It's not the 2006 Adam Sandler movie in which Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control his life, and that's all you need to know. Anyway, I guess we'll just move on from that. Somewhere out there's someone who just bought whatever that film was. I cannot remember the name. I'm gonna have to check again. Catch Me If You Can, and now they're opening it, and they're going to be treated with hit Adam Sandler 2006 movie Click. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we actually have Click on DVD, which apparently cost £1 from a Kex at one point. Don't know if that's where I got it from. Again, I think I've got them from there before, but yeah, just looking at the back, it's not for rental, and it also. Why do most of these have stains on them? What's that about? Anyway, this is a cracking comedy treat. It says there. That's the guy from the SpongeBob movie, which is, neat. Anyway, should we read this? A harried workaholic Michael Newman, brackets Adam Sandler, doesn't have the time for his wife, brackets Kate Beckinsale, and children, not if he's to impress his ungrateful boss, David Hasselhoff, and earn a well-deserved promotion. So when he meets Morty, Christopher Walken, a loopy sales clerk, he gets the answer to his prayers, a magical remote that allows him to bypass life's little distractions. With increasingly hysterical results. It is very funny. He slows down woman with boob, and you look at it. Cracking comedy treat. Anyway, but as Michael gleefully mutes, skips, and scans past his family and his friends, the remote gradually takes over his life and begins to program him in this fast, funny, and out of control comedy adventure. If you want Adam Sandler funny, solely Adam Sandler funny comedy movie, this probably isn't the movie for you. It does have that aspect, but it's also got the aspect of really miserable, depressing. The second half of the movie is just miserable, and I don't exactly know if the people who would enjoy Adam Sandler comedy movie would also enjoy miserable movie. Maybe you do, but yeah. So if that sounds like your thing, you should buy Click on DVD before I do. Anyway, moving on, we next actually have this is Click on DVD, which is this film where Adam Sandler here, he gets this remote, and it can actually control his life. He's got the options there. He can pause his kids growing up. So, yeah. And he controls his life, but he doesn't like what it's doing, because eventually it starts skipping past the things that he likes. He can never have sex again because it keeps skipping it. This is tragic. It's a cracking comedy treat. It comes with lots of different language subtitles. Do be warned though, because it contains strong language, moderate sex, and drug references, and it's apparently fit for viewing by persons aged 12 years or more. So, cool. Anyway, special features, cast and crew commentary, deleted scenes, and featurettes. So that's nice. There's a disc. This is actually this is the remote from the movie on the disc, and it's got all these things here. It's not for rental, so if you wanted to rent it, then that would actually be breaking the law, and I'd have to tell the police. Anyway, moving on, we next actually have so this is Click on DVD, and the case here has been replaced. I can tell by the feel. I've touched so many of these things. Is this going to be Catch Me If You Can too? Maybe we'll just never know. Oh no, it is Click. Okay. But yeah, this case is different. It's been replaced. I guess someone lost it, but somehow managed to keep the cover art in a actually pretty good condition. I don't know how exactly you do that, and also the disc. I understand if you don't have the cover, but how do you have the cover but not the case? That seems harder to do, right? Anyway, so it's a film about Adam Sandler, and he gets given this remote when he's looking for a remote, and it can actually control his life, but then it starts controlling his life too much, and he doesn't like it, and then he dies eventually, and that made him learn his lesson to value life, and then he gets given a second chance by his old dream. Also, interesting Click fact, but only as it's son's yacht wedding or whatever, where it's in New York, and if you look in the background, they CGI'd in 2 of the the One World Trade Center that's in New York now, because I think the original plan at the time was to have 2 of them as a replacement for the Twin Towers. And so they edited them in, because obviously that's set in the future. They edited 2 of those in, and I think the plans changed, so it's not accurate. That's still a cool little detail that they edited in the background. That's an interesting Click fact. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Next we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film where basically Adam Sandler gets given he's looking for a remote at Bed Bath & Beyond for some reason. because he has too many remotes. Like he's trying to turn off the TV or whatever. It turns on the fan. It opens the garage. Oh, which remote's which? Could just get a label maker, but no, get a universal remote. Which, if you're in the same room, wouldn't that... This, oh, Jesus Christ, this has been not an absolute journey. There's a sticker there, another one on top of it, and eventually it was sold somewhere for 99p, so it's interesting. It's been an absolute wild journey. Not as wild as the one from that I took to Dubai, but still. Yeah, we're taking a look at the disc. That's the disc from the movie. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. If you get a universal remote that controls everything and you press it in the room that has also other things, wouldn't that just be worse? Like, isn't that just going to open the garage door, turn on the fan, and also the TV at the same time? If that's your goal. But whatever, he gets this remote and eventually it controls his life too much and he dies and he's not happy. And he gets given a second chance because it was all a dream. So moving on, next we actually have this, this is Click on DVD. And this is like, it's a film about Adam Sandler, who plays a guy called Michael Newman, who's, he's a harried workaholic, you could say. And he just wants this big promotion for his family, so he keeps skipping his life to get to that big promotion. And then eventually he does, but he's skipped over a lot of his life. And then eventually he dies pretty quickly. But it's okay, because it was all a dream to teach him a lesson on to value life. So yeah, it's a cracking comedy treat, says the Daily Star, which is good to know. And it also comes with special features. So, you know, if you want to experience the movie in the best way, just watch it on the DVD. Looking at the inside now, we actually have the disc, which has the remote from the film on it. It doesn't say click in the film, but it does there because, you know, you got to know what the DVD is. But moving on. So this is Click on DVD, which is apparently £1 wherever this originates from. And this is like, so it's a movie about Adam Sandler. You can see here he's holding a remote. And he gets this remote that can like control his life. So he gets him into a bunch of wacky shenanigans, and then eventually he goes too far. The remote keeps skipping parts of his life automatically, and then eventually he dies because he skipped his entire life, and his entire family's there crying, and then it was all a dream to teach him a lesson, so it's okay. This guy's the devil also. Anyway, so this is the disc. It's weirdly, it looks like a different color to the others, but. That's the remote from the film, by the way. So, moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is like this film where Adam Sandler gets he gets this remote here. You can see it's got all these options to control his life. It's the life menu, you could say. And he starts controlling his life, and he keeps skipping important things. And he like misses his kids growing up, and it's very, very sad for him. And then eventually he dies, and it was all to teach him a lesson about valuing life, and, you know, it probably did. So yeah, this is the back. It's not for rental. Copyright 2006. It's a cracking comedy treat. Got pictures of Adam Sandler's wife in the film, who's played by Kate Beckinsale. And we got Adam Sandler's boss in the film, who's played by the guy that saved SpongeBob. And then looking at the disc, this is actually clearly it's like a slightly different color. Also, I don't even know if it picks it on camera. But this is the remote from the film. You see, it's got all the options here. It doesn't actually say click on it in the film, but it does here, so you know what it is. If you're one of those freaks that gets rid of your cases and puts them in a binder. I don't know why you do that, but moving on. Next up, we actually have Click on DVD, which is apparently a gift aid item at some place, at some time, wherever this originates from. So, got a lot of information here. It's Columbia Pictures made this, so thank heavens for that. It's a cast and crew commentary, deleted scenes, featurettes, as special features, which is nice. It's also a cracking comedy treat, so you know if you're looking for a nice comedy film to watch, this might just be the one. Basically, no, not to spoil the plot too much, but there's a part where Adam Sandler uses the remote to turn himself green, and yeah, moving on. So, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is like, so it's a film about Adam Sandler getting a remote from, so basically Adam Sandler's at home, and he just wants to watch the TV, but he can't because he's got too many remotes, right? And he can't figure out which remote does what. He's turning on the fan, he's opening the garage, and he's like, oh god, I wish I had one remote for everything. So he gets in his car, he goes to Bed Bath & Beyond for some reason. I don't know why that's your go-to remote buying place, but it is. And he gets a remote in like the Beyond section, which is like this cool like weird area that apparently exists. And he gets it from this guy, and it's actually a magic remote, so it can control his life. Like he mutes his wife, he speeds up his dog shitting in his garden, and he gets him into a lot of trouble eventually because it starts skipping his life for him. And Adam Sandler's like, "Well, I don't want this to happen. I want to live my life." And then he can never have sex with his wife again because every time it just skips it automatically. And then eventually he dies. And that's pretty sad. But it was actually all a dream, so he could be taught a lesson on valuing his life, and it's all okay. Anyway, this is the disc. That's the remote from the film. It's also a 12. It's got it in a different language there. I don't actually know what the language is, but yeah, not for rental. So if you rent this, you will be arrested. So, moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is like this film where basically Adam Sandler here gets this remote from Bed Bath & Beyond, and it controls his life. And he was in control, right? He can like fast forward, he can go back, but when he goes back, he can't actually, he can't change his life, he can just look at it. So he like goes back to like a camping trip, and it's like epic and stuff. And eventually it starts fast forwarding his life for him, so he's missing everything, you know, and then eventually gets to the point where he just dies because he skipped his entire life. And it's pretty sad, but it's all a dream. So it's okay because none of it was real. It was a dream to teach him a lesson. So yeah, anyway, here's the disc. And if we take a look at the leaflet here, oh, it's actually got the chapters in it. That's cool. So we've got 27 chapters of the film. We got like Star, Exploding Stress, blah blah, Bed and Bath, Way Beyond, Give Me Some Time, Enough Juice. Some cool names there. Anything on the back? Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. That's interesting. Well, what do we do? Oh, it's a survey. Okay, that makes sense. They want like data and stuff. Is this one? This is probably expired, right? Does this expire? Do you know? You mail it there. Is there anything here? Okay, June 2007. Okay, so yeah, no, it's expired. Never mind, I guess. We should have acted sooner. Okay, so next up we actually have so this is Click on DVD, and it's a film starring Adam Sandler, as you can see by the fact his name is on it, but also he's there on the cover, and he gets this remote from this guy actually, Morty, who works in Bed Bath & Beyond, I suppose. And it looks like a normal remote at first, but it turns out it can actually control his life. Adam Sandler notices this when he tries to fast forward his dog in a silly, quirky manner, but it actually works. And he can control his life, which is pretty epic. So he starts skipping it, but then it automatically starts to skip, and he's like, I actually don't like this. Can this stop, please? But it doesn't. And then he fast forward all the way to his death, and then he dies. But it turns out it was actually all just a dream to teach him a lesson about valuing his life, and then he wakes up and he's all okay. So taking a look at the inside, we have the disc here. That's the remote from the film. All the wonderful companies that made this movie possible. What's a leaflet? What's this? Okay, we've got like adverts for other DVDs and also the chapter selection here, which is cool. Super smoothed out Adam Sandler and Adam Sandler movie wife, who I can't remember the name of his she's played by Kate Beckinsale. It also just says his wife. I assume his wife that has a name in the film, but I don't know. Quite fantastic DVDs. Should mail it to Nottingham. It's probably expired. I'm not reading all that. 2007. June 2007. Okay. Yeah, so no, that's expired. I mean, we can try it, I guess. Maybe they'll have some, like, the grace period, you know, maybe they'll have some leniency. We were busy, we couldn't mail it in time. We might still be able to win, okay? So, next up we actually have Click on DVD here, which is basically this film where Adam Sandler here, he gets a remote from a Bed Bath & Beyond, because he goes there to get a remote for some reason. Don't know why that'd be a go-to, but it is. And it controls his life, so it can do a bunch of silly stuff, like there's this guy in the car next to him, he's singing. And Adam Sandler's like, oh, I don't like this, I mute you. So he does, which I don't know what the logic of that is. I'd assume it would only control his life, but what if that guy is just mute forever now? Anyway, moving on. Looking at the back. Oh, it's a cracking comedy tree. That's good to know. So, not for rental. It's in English, Italian, Spanish, and Catalan. Okay. Also a bunch of subtitles, so everyone can enjoy the magic of Click. Looking at the disc, that's the remote for the film. And I've got all the companies there. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's a leaflet. What's in it? Oh, it's an advert for other DVDs. What? If you enjoyed this title, oh, it's like the Netflix thing where it recommends you other things. 13 going on 30. Fun with Dick and Jane. Hitch. The Longest Yard. Anger Management and Groundhog Day. Bewitched. Deuce Bigelow. European Gigolo. 50 First Dates. The Producers. Life of Brian. Is that a Family Guy episode? I'm pretty sure it is. And White Chicks. Can't believe they made a whole DVD out of Family Guy episode. That's mental, that. Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. Can we win, like, maybe we can win these DVDs. It's probably expired, though. You have to be over 18. All entries. Oh, okay. 30th of June it expired. When was it announced? It doesn't say. So yeah, I guess we'll move on. So this is Click on DVD. So basically, Flint Lockwood, he lives in this like island in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's called Swallow Falls, right? And basically, they were cut off from the world, and all they can eat is sardines because they were famous for the Baby Brent sardines, and that's all they like have to eat. If we slipped over here quick. But eventually, people didn't like sardines, so they were just stuck eating them for the rest of their life. And Flint Lockwood, he's a bit of a quirkball inventor. He invents these things called spray-on shoes, and everyone laughs at him because how are you going to get them off, nerd? And he can't get them off. But yeah, he keeps inventing. You know, he wants to change the world with his inventions. And eventually, he's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a machine that turns water into food. And he does. So the mayor is opening up this place called like Sardine Land for sardine tourism to like get anyone to come to the random island that only eats sardines in the middle of the ocean. So during the opening of Sardine Land, they send out a weather girl whose name's Sam Sparks, and Flint Lockwood's like, this is my opportunity. Everyone's going to be distracted. I'm going to use the town's power supply to power my invention that needs a lot of power. And he does, and it gets like too much power, and it shoots a rocket through all of the town and like Sardine Land, and he ruins Sardine Land. But his machine, it goes up into the sky. If you know anything about the sky, there's clouds in it. If you know anything about clouds, they have water. So, a little later, Flint Lockwood he's sad, very sad, and he runs into Sam Sparks, who's also very sad because Flint Lockwood just ruined her weather report. But then it starts raining cheeseburgers, which means his machine works, and everyone loves him for it. They're like, can you do it again, Flint Lockwood? And he's like, oh, of course I can. So he does it again and again. But there's this thing, right? And it tells Flint Lockwood how dangerous the food is. And it gets more and more dangerous. But Flint Lockwood, he likes the fame. He's never been liked before, so he ignores it. But eventually, the mayor, he rebrands the town to Chew and Swallow to get a bunch of tourists there because, you know, it rains food. That's more of a reason than Sardine Land. And when all the tourists come, the thing is in the red, and it causes a bunch of, like, a food storm. There's also a dam full of food that breaks, and it, like, floods the town with food. There's a spaghetti tornado, there's all this quirky stuff. So Flint Lockwood and friends, which is Baby Brent, Sam Sparks, Manny, Steve, they go up in a big car that he made fly, and they save the day by destroying the machine. And Flint Lockwood died, but he actually didn't. It was a fake out death. And they lived happily ever after. And then there was the second one. So yeah, that was Click 2006. Moving on. Next up, we actually have Click on DVD, which is a film about Adam Sandler. And he actually gets this remote that can like control his life. He gets it at Bed Bath & Beyond, which he goes to get a remote for some reason. Not sure why that would be your first choice, but it was. It's a cracking comedy treat, says Daily Star. Don't know what the Daily Star is, but they say it's a cracking comedy treat, so I'll just trust them. So he gets it from this guy, and it controls his life, but it starts skipping too much of his life. And Adam Sandler's like, I don't like this. I would quite like to, like, live my life. But then it keeps skipping, and eventually he dies. But it's okay, because it was to teach him a lesson by this guy who's the devil. I'm not sure why I would want to teach him a lesson, but whatever. He also farts in the guy from the SpongeBob movie's face, which is very funny. But yeah, it was all a dream, so it's fine. So this is Click on DVD, which came from apparently a Cancer Reach at UK, which is like a charity store. It was apparently £1 from wherever this originates from. But yeah, this is Click on DVD, and this is Adam Sandler holding a remote. So the premise of this film, you can pause and read it if you want. It's written there, but I'll just explain it briefly. Adam Sandler has a remote that controls his life. It controls his life too much, and he eventually is like, I don't like this, but tough luck, buckaroo, you weren't valuing your life. But it was all a dream to teach him a lesson, so it's okay. Checking the inside now. This is a disc. And that's actually the remote from the film, but on the disc. That's interesting. Looking at the spine there, it says Click. We've got Adam Sandler and Kate Beckinsale, who plays Adam Sandler's wife in the film. Sony Pictures made this, so thank you, I guess. Thank you for giving us this blessed movie. Moving on, next we actually have Click on DVD, which is it's a film showing Adam Sandler, and he's got this remote. And the remote can control his life, and he gets him into a whole bunch of wacky little shenanigans. But eventually, it gets him into too many shenanigans. It was all fun and games when Adam Sandler could make his boss big with the effects button, which I don't see here, but still. He makes his boss big during the sexual harassment education meeting at work or whatever. And he make himself green, and he mute man, and he make woman running slow so he can look at boobs. I think that was one of the posters for the film. Very quirky stuff. But then it gets too much, and he can't control some aspects. He's skipping his entire life. And eventually he just skips to his death. So he wasted his life, and that was the lesson there. The lesson was to value life. This was apparently £1 from somewhere at some point. But yeah, that's Click on DVD. PAL Region 2, all that good stuff. That's the remote from the film. And moving on. So next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is it's a film where Adam Sandler here, he gets this remote right, and the remote can actually control his life, but then eventually it's all fun and games at the start, but it starts controlling his life too much, and it's skipping all of it, and Adam Sandler doesn't like this, and eventually dies. He just skips his death, and it was to be taught a lesson by this guy to value his life, and it was all a dream in the end, so it's okay. It was apparently 69p from Age UK and somewhere else before that. I think there's a sticker underneath. So that's where this originates from. I'm not sure where I got it from, but yeah. That's good. Moving on, I guess. So the next film we have is actually a Click on DVD, which is so it's a film about Adam Sandler, and he gets a remote, and the remote can control his life, but it takes over his life and it ruins it, and then he dies. So it's not great for him, but it's all okay in the end because it was a dream to teach him a lesson. So by this guy teaches him a lesson by giving him this remote, and it eventually kills him. Really long dream, really realistic dream, but it was all a dream. Also at the end, there's a post-credit scene. Not post-credit scene because it's before the credits. That's not how a post-credit scene works. It's just a scene where the remote appears on Adam Sandler's kitchen counter, and he's tempted again. But he's not this time, and he throws it away, and he's learned his lesson, which is good of him. Looking at the disc, this is a remote from the film, the disc, and also the wonderful companies that made the film. But yeah, maybe you should check this one out. You can get it on DVD, I've heard, but moving on. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is so it's this film about Adam Sandler, and he gets this remote, and the remote can actually control his life. It controls time. It can pause and mute things. It's a TV remote, but it's controlling his life basically. It's what if you had a universal remote that controlled your universe? It's a universal remote, which is like a remote that controls everything, but it's universal because it controls the universe. That's a silly little pun there. But yeah, look at the back here. There's a sticker there. So that's interesting. Someone put a sticker there at one point. Wow. Anyway, it's a cracking comedy treat. It's good to know. Let's take a look at the inside. Ooh. Okay. Disc appears to have the remote from the film on it. So that's nice. Oh, its approximate runtime is 103 minutes and 4 seconds. Very nice. Okay, moving on. Next we have Click on DVD, which is this film starring Adam Sandler, and he basically gets a remote, and the remote can control his life. So he can fast forward things, he can rewind, he can do pretty much like what you can do on a remote, but to his life, basically. And this gets him into a lot of wacky little shenanigans, which eventually leads to the remote controlling him, like that he doesn't have power over the remote. The remote controls his life, and it eventually leads to him just skipping to his death and he dies, so not good. But that was actually to teach him a lesson. So the entire thing was a dream, right? So this guy is like the devil, and he gave that Adam Sandler to teach him to value his life. It was all a lesson. So he wakes up from his dream, he's like, oh, I'm still alive, this is good, and they live happily ever after. Here's the disc. It's got a bunch of logos and stuff on it, but that's the remote from the film. So it's really interesting. Anyway, moving on. Next up we have Click on DVD, which is the cover appears to be like weirdly misaligned. Gotta move it down a little bit. There we go. So, this contains, what does it contain? Strong language, moderate sex and drug references. Oh my golly gosh. Well, look out when you watch that. It's not a wholesome movie, it has this in it. But yeah, this DVD is copy protected. How do I own a bootleg version that's just a copy of it then? Explain that one. It's a cracking comedy treat. Basically, Adam Sandler has a remote and the remote can control his entire world, which is interesting. Take a look on the inside. Oh, this is the disc. Okay, so that's the remote from the film, and then we've got all the stuff like the ratings and the studios and stuff, so that's interesting. Take a look at the spine. We've got Adam Sandler and Kate Beckinsale, who plays Adam Sandler's wife in the film. We've got Click, and then just the rating and stuff. Moving on. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is so it's a film where Adam Sandler basically gets a remote that can control his life, and he uses the remote, and he's like, oh, this is great. I can skip forward to my promotion. I can pause time, and I can fart in the guy that saved SpongeBob Patrick's face, and also slap him. But then the remote, it starts to control him, and he can't stop it, and it skips forward, ruins his life, and then he dies. So, cracking comedy treat. But yeah, it was actually all a dream, as it turns out, to teach Adam Sandler a lesson that he should value his life, and then he does, because he wakes up and he's like, wow, I'm not dead, this is great. So looking inside, this is the disc. That's the remote from the film, actually. And here we have, a leaflet, this is cool. Interesting. So we got 27 chapters, okay. And then we've got adverts for other DVDs that we can buy. If we enjoyed this, we will probably like these, which is good to know. We can win DVDs. Okay, so we don't have to buy them. Expand your collection with a Sony back catalogue. I'd love to. Okay, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. We put 3 exclamation points, so they're very excited about this. Okay, never mind. I just read the small print. The promotion ended in June of 2007, so we're not going to win 20 fantastic DVDs. Well, isn't that a shame? Moving on. So this is Click on DVD, and essentially this is a film where Adam Sandler, basically, he gets a remote, and the remote can control his life. But then the remote controls his life too much, and he's not in control, because usually you would be in control. The remote just does stuff automatically, which is kind of fucked up. That was like, you should have known this before. It should have been made explicitly clear, but whatever. And it ruins his life. Also, this is a different case. This is not the case it originally came in. You can tell. But yeah, it eventually skips to him dying, and it turns out it was all a dream to teach him a lesson to value his life. So, he learns that lesson, and he's happy. It's also not for rental, so, you better not think about renting this or putting it up for rental, because that's a crime, I'd assume. So moving on, next up we have Click on DVD, which is actually this comedy film. Well, the first half is a comedy, the second half is just miserable, really. But it's about Adam Sandler, and he gets this remote, and he gets it from Bed Bath & Beyond, which he goes to get a remote for some reason, and that it controls his life, but Or initially it can control his life, and he's like, "Whoa, this is sick! I can turn myself green." He does other more interesting stuff, like he mutes his wife at one point, which is really epic. But eventually, the remote controls him. Like, he can't control the remote. The remote does stuff automatically, and Adam Sandler's like, "I don't want this," but it still happens. And eventually, that leads to him skipping forward. He gets divorced. And then his kids grow up because they do that. And then he dies. Well, he gets fat and then he gets skinny and then he dies. But it was actually all to teach him a lesson. So, basically, it was all a dream to teach Adam Sandler to value his life. And then he does. So, and he even, like, gives up the remote because just before the end of the film, the remote reappears in his kitchen. And Adam Sandler's like, "Not this time, Buckaroo," and he throws it away. So, very good ending there. But yeah, I showed off the disc. That was the DVD of the film. So, moving on. Next up we have Click on DVD, which apparently cost £1 from Kex at one point, so that's good to know. Taking a look at the inside, here we have the disc, which has all these logos and stuff, and that's actually the remote from the film. And then the cover is Adam Sandler holding a remote, and it says Life Menu, because it controls his life, which is, cool. Looking at the back, it seems that we have some screenshots from the film, and also the special features, the rating, all that stuff. Also, it's copy protected, so that's good to know. Oh, compatible with PlayStation 2. Yes, because it plays DVDs. That's interesting. To Region 2. Basically, Adam Sandler has a remote that controls his life. I think most people know that. Do most people watching that know that? I'd imagine so, but yeah, it's a cracking comedy treat, I would say. So moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD, and this is stained for some reason, and it feels weird, so I'm just gonna leave my hands like here. I'm not really gonna touch it, so yeah, it feels weird. Let's flip it up. Yeah, there's just like a stain of something across it there, which is that's good. All rights in this DVD are reserved, and it is strictly prohibited to use this DVD video other than for private viewing in the home. What about private viewing outside the home? What about that? Is that fine? Anyway, we've got this is the plot of the film explained basically. So, I could summarize it quickly on this. Adam Sandler get remote that control his life, but it bad, and then he wake up and it was dream. Hopefully you got the plot of the film from that. Take a look at the inside. The disc is backwards. Is it going to be that? Is it going to actually be the film? It is. Okay. So this is the disc. It's a 6, 12, and 12. Don't know what the 6 means, but whatever. Guess we'll move on. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is actually this film where Adam Sandler gets a remote and it can control his life. And initially it's all cool and good because he can control his life, but eventually the remote takes over and controls his life for him, and it just leads to him skipping to his death, which isn't great. But it turns out it was all a dream, and none of it happened. It was to just teach Adam Sandler a lesson in that he should value his life, and then he does value his life. So that's the film. Would I recommend it? Probably not. But it's a cracking comedy treat, says Daily Star. Would I say? Maybe. Maybe the first half, but yeah. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is basically, it's a film where, so Adam Sandler, he get remote and remote control his life, but then he control remote until remote control him, and when remote control him, he's sad because it ruined life, and then he died, but it was dream. So yeah, that's basically the plot of the film. So sorry for like the spoilers, spoiled the ending there, but whatever. This film came out in 2006, right? You should have watched it by now if you really cared. And the disc is backwards. Just flip it over. So this is the disc. Not for rental, so you better not rent this. Got the ratings there. This is actually the remote from the film. It doesn't say Click on it in the film, they just did that for the disc, but you know. Anyway, moving on. Next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film where Adam Sandler basically, he gets a remote from Bed Bath & Beyond, which is where he goes to get his remote for some reason. They probably paid to be in the film, so yeah. He goes to the Beyond section in the name, which is rather humorous, I must say. I would maybe describe it as a cracking comedy treat because of that. And he gets a remote, but it's a magic remote. It can control his life, and it also ruins his life. And eventually he's like, I don't want the remote, but he can't get rid of the remote. He's stuck with it, and it keeps ruining his life until he dies. But this was actually all to teach Adam Sandler a lesson that he should value his life. And then he does when he wakes up from his dream. He does value his life, and it's all happily ever after. Anyway, here's the disc. It's made by Revolution Studios, Columbia Pictures, Happy Madison Productions, Original Film, and Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. Good to know. So moving on, we have Click on DVD. I think I've talked about this film before, but I guess I'll briefly cover it again for anyone who hasn't seen me talk about it. Basically, Adam Sandler gets a remote, and the remote can control his life, and he's like, this is great. He uses it for some epic stuff. You know, he takes his dog out to pee, and he's like, I ain't waiting for this. So he speeds it up, and the dog does it quicker, and he's like, oh, I can go inside. And he mutes his wife, you know, he mutes a guy singing. He slows down a woman running to look at her boobs, which is epic. And eventually, the remote actually controls him, and it starts skipping over his life without him asking, which, you know, ruins his life because he can't really do anything. It just puts him on autopilot, basically, until he dies, because it skips all the way to his death. And he's out in the rain dying, and it's very sad. His family's there. But then he wakes up, because it turns out it was all a dream to teach him a lesson by this guy who's like the devil. It was to teach Adam Sandler a lesson that he should value his life, and then he does. Wholesome Chungus. So this is next up, and it's the DVD copy of Adam Sandler's 2006 movie Click, where Adam Sandler basically, like, he's not really valuing his life. He's got all these amazing things, you know, he's got kids, a wife, a house, and he's probably got some other stuff too. Or he's got parents too. But yeah, he's not really valuing it. And he eventually, he's wanting to watch TV, right? And he's like, oh God, I can't find the remote. Is this the remote? No, it's the garage remote. No, it turns on the fan. Which remote's for the TV? So he's so pissed off, he just goes to Bed Bath & Beyond, and he's like, I'm just going to buy a remote from Bed Bath & Beyond. But he gets given by this guy, he gets given a remote that's actually magic, because it can control his life. So he starts, like, skipping things. He starts muting his wife, he starts skipping his life to try and get to his promotion where he'd get more money, because, you know, it's better to work and get more money, realistically. But it eventually takes over his life, and the remote does stuff automatically. It starts skipping things for him without Adam Sandler asking, and he's like, hang on, I don't like this. Until eventually, it skips all the way to Adam Sandler being fat. And then eventually, it skips all the way to him dying. And it's very sad. But it's okay, because it was all a dream. And Adam Sandler wakes up, and he's all happy, because he's like, I'm not dead, this is great. But then, when he gets home, the remote is there. And he's tempted, and he's like, nuh-uh-uh. And he throws it away. How awesome. So yeah, this is a DVD. It was released in, like, when was this released? Copyright 2006. Anyway, it's a cracking comedy treat. It says Daily Star, so that's good to know. Let's take a look at the inside here. Okay, so it's just a disc. Got all the companies that made it. We've got, like, the remote from the film there, all rights reserved, all that good stuff. So let's move on to our next DVD, which is actually it's actually the 2006 Adam Sandler movie Click, and this was apparently £1 from Kex at one point. Don't know if that's where I got it from, or if that's just where it came from at one point, but it was there at one point, so, you know, it's good. Steal for £1 for such a cracking comedy treat. This is the side of the box. So, if you've never seen this film, and you don't know anything about it, it's basically Adam Sandler gets a remote from Bed Bath & Beyond, and it turns out this remote can control his life. So, he starts abusing this power, and he skips his entire life, and he ruins it, and then he dies, because it skipped to the end, because it started controlling him. But it turns out it was all a dream to teach him a lesson to value his life. And it's all okay, because he learned his lesson. But yeah, we've got, what languages we got? Subtitles, English, Danish, Dutch, English, Finnish, Hindi, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Spanish, Swedish. Everyone gets to enjoy Click. How awesome. So this is the disc. It's like, that's the remote from the film, and then that's the title. But the title it's not actually on the remote in the film, if you're wondering. But yeah, moving on. So next up we have a copy of Click. This apparently came from Kex at one point for £1. Don't know if that's where I got it from, or if that's just where it was like before I bought it, but it was there at one point, so that's good to know. I'm going to try speedrun the plot because I feel like most people know. If you don't know, basically, Adam Sandler gets a remote, the remote controls his life, but then the remote controls his life without him asking, and it skips to his death. And it was actually all a lesson because he wakes up in Bed Bath & Beyond, and it was to teach him to value his life, so it's all okay. So, if you didn't understand, you can pause it and read this. Special features, what we got? We got cast and crew commentary, that's good to know. Deleted scenes and featurettes. Interesting. I think the American version came with like more, or it listed it differently, but... So moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film where basically Adam Sandler, he gets a remote, and the remote can control his life, so he uses it because, well, he's in control. But eventually, the remote's in control. You could say remote control, because remote control. And it ruins his life by skipping forward and stuff. It keeps skipping all this stuff Adam Sandler wants to do, and it won't let him do it because there's nothing he can do. Until eventually, Adam Sandler just skips to his death and dies, which isn't great. But it's all okay because it turns out it was all a dream to teach him a lesson. And he learned his lesson, and he's super happy that he is still alive, which is, understandable. Anyway, here's the disc. This is actually the remote from the film on the disc. That's what it kind of looks like. I wish I had a remote like that. That'd be cool. Anyway, moving on. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is actually this it's like Adam Sandler film from 2006, where Adam Sandler basically gets a remote that can control his life, and shenanigans ensue. It's a cracking comedy treat, I would say. I don't know if others agree with me. Oh look, Daily Star agrees with me. They say it's a cracking comedy treat. That's good to know. But yeah, if you're looking for a cracking comedy treat, this is probably the place to go. So, starring Adam Sandler, Kate Beckinsale, and Christopher Walken. Good to know. Let's take a look on the inside here. Okay, so this is a disc. Oh, it's actually got the remote from the film on it. That's interesting. In the film, it doesn't say Click. They just added that on for the disc, but that's still cool. Anyway, moving on. Here we have, this is probably £1 from Kex, but it's the DVD of Adam Sandler's 2006 movie Click. That's cool. So basically, you probably tell because it says life menu. What are the options? We've got play golf, mute mother-in-law, delete parking ticket, pause kids growing up, fast forward working out, slow-mo vacation, and skip hangover, and rewind to prom night. That's so epic. So the remote, if you couldn't tell, it can basically control Adam Sandler's life. So he gets given a magical remote, and he can control his life. He can he does the pause challenge, the Morg's pause challenge, but in 2006. So that might originate from here. That might be where the inspiration came from. Maybe this movie led to a domino effect where we got the Morg's pause challenge. So that's interesting. But yeah, that's basically the premise of the film. There's some other stuff happens in the second half. You don't need to know. You can watch it for yourself. It's a cracking comedy treat. Take a look on the inside here. Oh, we've got a leaflet. That's cool. But yeah, there's the disc. So this is the remote from the film. In the film, it doesn't say Click, by the way. They wouldn't do that. What's in here? Okay, I dropped it. What's this? Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. That's cool. It's fairly cheap to get 20 fantastic DVDs now, but in 2006, that's a pretty cool prize. So we just have to fill in a survey, I guess. This probably expired, right? Okay, yeah, it expired in 2007. Well, regardless, let's go from the inside. Chapter selection. There's 27 chapters in this film. How long is this film? It's an hour 43 minutes, right? And then other titles we might enjoy, such as an advert for other titles. Okay. So that was Click on DVD. Anyway, I guess we'll move on now. Yeah, so next up we actually have a Click on DVD, which is just mental to think about, really, isn't it? So this one for some reason has a line down it there, but basically the plot follows Adam Sandler getting into some wacky shenanigans with a remote that can control his life until it all goes wrong and he learns a valuable lesson because it was all a dream. take a look at the inside, and we have a leaflet here, which is interesting. Other side-splitting comedies. Wow, I should get this one. So some side-splitting comedies here. Crazy comedy coming your way. Well, coming my way. That's cool. Anyway, here's the disc. It's got the remote from the film on it, which is, you know, interesting. So moving on. Click. La trama sigue a Michael Newman, un arquitecto con exceso de trabajo que descuida a su familia cuando acoge un misterioso mando universal de muerte que le permite controlar la realidad. Es genial. Este es el disco. So, moving on, I think next I want to cover is Click on DVD, which was apparently £1 from Kex at some point. Don't know if that's where I got it from, but that's where it was at one point. Taking a look at the back, got all this information. So basically, to summarise the plot of this film, Adam Sandler gets a remote, and his remote can actually control his life. So he gets into some wacky shenanigans with that, until it's all good in the end. It's not really, he dies, but it was a dream, so it's okay. That's all you need to know. It's a cracking comedy treat, right? Okay, on the inside we have the disc here, which is the disc of Click. And it's actually got the name on it, but the remote in the film doesn't have the name on it. And this is actually the remote from the film. So, there you go. Moving on. So next up is Click on DVD, which is a movie where Adam Sandler basically gets a remote, and the remote can control his life. And he's super happy about this because, well, that's just cool and convenient, right? Like, he can skip things he doesn't want to do, lines, you don't got to wait in lines anymore. He just basically, so in the film, he uses it to like try and skip work to get to his promotion. But he ends up skipping a lot of his life, and it ruins his life because the remote starts to do it automatically, knowing, hey, this guy's probably not going to want to do this, so it just skips it for him until eventually it skips to his death. But it's okay, because it was all a dream to teach him a lesson, and it did, because he's super happy when he's not dead, as anyone would be. Anyway, here's the disc. It's that's the remote from the film on there. That's cool. Moving on. So next up is Click on DVD, which has a sticker here. So I guess it came from there at some point, but it also was at Kex at one point. It was apparently £1. So it's a fairly decent price to play for 2006 Adam Sandler movie Click, I must say. Basically, if you don't know, the plot of this film is like Adam Sandler gets a remote, and I think the remote can control his life, right? And then I think it's to teach him a lesson or something. I can't really remember, but yeah, that's the film. Looking at the back, it's apparently a cracking comedy treat. Did not know that, and it's copy protected, which is always good. Hour 43 minutes of cracking comedy, I guess. Take a look inside. Oh, that's the disc. Sure is a disc. It says Click on it, and that's actually a remote from the film, if you didn't know. Guess I'll move on now. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is it's this film where Adam Sandler gets a remote and it can control his life. And he's super happy about this at first, until it all goes wrong when it starts controlling his life too much, and Adam Sandler can't stop it. So he's forced to just like ruin his life until he dies, which is such cracking comedy. But that happens, and it was all a dream actually, so he could be taught a lesson by this guy because he wasn't valuing his life enough, but then he does because he died. And at the end, he actually goes into his kitchen and the remote's there, but Adam Sandler chooses to throw it away because he's learnt a valuable lesson. Taking a look at the inside here, we've got the disc, but we also have a leaflet, so I guess we'll take a look at that. This is a cover for the film, you know, you could put this on your wall if you're a big fan. Oh, you can win 20 fantastic DVDs. Just have the first name, last name, and they give you address and your email and your phone number, and also your home telephone number, your age, your date of birth, your number of children, which of the things we watch DVDs on, which do I watch DVDs on? And surprisingly, they didn't list the PS5 there. Where do I buy DVDs? I guess the internet. How many DVDs do I own? Over 100. How many DVDs would you anticipate buying in the next year? Probably over 51. What type of films do you enjoy? I don't know. Comedy, and I guess children's or family would probably be there too. Please take this. I don't want to receive further information. I already click. That's going to be the peak. I reckon this is over now. Honestly, I reckon we've missed out on this prize. Yeah, it says 30th of June 2007. Well, we missed out by a good 17 years, really, almost 18, which is tragic. But you know, maybe someday I'll win 20 fantastic DVDs. Anyway, I guess we'll just move on to our next release, which is actually Click on DVD, which for some reason has a sticker that says K31, some symbol 1 dash. Not entirely sure what that means, but sure, whatever, I guess. Basically, the plot of this film, it's about Adam Sandler getting a remote from a guy at Bed Bath & Beyond, and the remote controls his life. Which at first, is great. It's great for him. He can skip what he wants, he can do what he wants because he's got a remote. You know, he can mute his wife and he can fast forward his dog peeing, but then eventually it starts skipping things he starts skipping giant portions of his life, you know? Eventually he's his kids are 20 and his dad dies, which was the sad part of the film. Adam Sandler goes back in time to see the last time he saw his dad before he died, and it very sad. And eventually Adam Sandler dies, which isn't great, but it was also to teach him a valuable lesson because it was actually a dream. Sorry for spoiling, but it was actually a dream to teach him a lesson, and then he's super happy because he's not dead, which it makes sense really. Take a look on the inside. Oh, we've got a leaflet. That's cool. So this is the remote from the film on the disc here. Got a bunch of text. Some of it's foreign, so I can't really read it. Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. Will you look at that? Do you want to own an amazing instant DVD collection? Sure. And just complete our questionnaire to enter our free prize draw. One lucky winner drawn each month will receive 20 DVDs of their choice. Can I get 20 clicks, please? I want 20 clicks. I wonder if they'll let me. Take a look on the inside. Chapter selection is 27 chapters. Okay. And some titles I recommend. Maybe I'll check those out. Probably not. Is this over? Can we still enter this? To avoid missing out, simply return this entry. Okay. Terms and conditions. This absolutely tiny text here. Over 18, UK residents. All entries must be... Okay, 30th of June 2007. God damn it. Maybe one day they'll do another competition. Oh well. That sucks. Anyway. Next up we have Click on DVD, which is this film where... Well, basically Adam Sandler has a remote that can control his life, and he gets up to some silly little things as Adam Sandler. The corner of this case is broken. That's not great, but we'll live with it. One day I might get another Click, and I guess that could replace it, really. But, I mean, the disc is fine, so disc's also got the remote from the film in it, which is cool. I mean, alright, we're alright for now, so I can live with this. I'll get another one day. Here's the back, it's not for rental, so I got my weekend plans. I was planning on renting this, but we'll live with it. So next up is Click on DVD, which has a sticker in the top left. I don't know what it was, but it's gone now, so that's some interesting lore, I guess. So basically, I think the plot of this film is something like Adam Sandler has a remote or something, and the remote controls his life, and then it all goes a bit wrong for Adam Sandler, and it's not great for him. And then he dies, which isn't great. He dies out in the rain. His entire family there is crying. He also gets a divorce at one point, but he misses it because it's the remote. So anyway, moving on. This is Adam Sandler's wife, and this is his boss. He saved SpongeBob one time, which is pretty nice of him. It's a cracking comedy treat, says Daily Star. Well, now I've got to watch it. Okay, so this is a disc. It's got the remote from the film on it, which is a nice little detail, I must say. Anyway, moving on. Next up we have Click on DVD, which was apparently $7.99 at one point and then £1. So, you know, I guess Click isn't as popular as it was when it was $7.99. So we've also got the sticker that says 13 on the side, because why not? Oh, and then there's a QR code for when it was $7.99. Someone paid $7.99 to watch this. I mean, it is a cracking comedy treat, to be fair. If you don't know, if you've never seen this film, basically what happens is Adam Sandler, he's a workaholic, you could say. He plays this guy called Michael Newman, and he wants a remote. And he goes to Bed Bath & Beyond for some reason to get his remote. And then he gets his remote. And then he uses it, but it's actually controlling his life and not like the TV. Which is weird, but he uses this to his advantage, as anyone would, until it starts skipping parts of his life for him. And then he dies, which isn't great. But it was actually all a dream to teach him a lesson, and it was by this guy. So that's cool. And Adam Sandler's happy because he's not dead, as anyone would be. Let's take a look on the inside here. Okay, there's the disc. It's got the remote from the film in it. That's nice. So that's cool. Moving on, I guess. Next release I want to talk about is it's just actually Click on DVD, which is so it's this film where Adam Sandler basically gets a remote, and the remote can control his life, and he uses this to his advantage because who wouldn't? Until it all goes a bit wrong and the remote starts controlling him. It's all good at first, until it starts just skipping major parts of his life. Skips so far forward that he just skips to his death, which isn't great, but it was actually all a dream. And he wakes up in the Bed Bath & Beyond, because he was asleep there for presumably ages to have this entire movie's worth of a dream, but sure. And he's so happy because he's not dead. He's super happy. Anyway, that's a disc. That's actually a remote from the film. I wonder where that is. I wonder how many of those they made for the film. I wonder, do any still exist? Can I buy one? Moving on. So the next DVD is actually Click on DVD, which is this film about Adam Sandler getting a remote, and the remote can control his life, and that gets him into some shenanigans, let's say. No spoilers, because you should really check out the film. I would say it's a cracking comedy treat, honestly. Oh, and so with Daily Star. It's got this little shiny thing there to show it's a real Sony DVD. Wow. Take a look at the inside. This disc looks weird. Is this disc slightly different? Hang on. It is. It's like a slightly discolored, is it zoomed in differently too? This is weird. I don't like that. That is weird, right? Yeah, it is weird. Looks slightly different, but I don't know if it is. I think it's just the colouring or something. Oh no, it is different. Look. That says Al. This says 6. Okay, so apparently there's 2 different versions of the disc, which is cool. We learned something new about Click 2006 today. But yeah, that was the film. So moving on, next up is Click on DVD. Apparently this was £1 at Kex at some point. It was secondhand, and it was sent by Mark B or something. Don't know if I got it from Kex or if I just bought it online and it originally came from there, but it was there at one point, and that's all we need to know. Flipping it over, taking a look at the back. Oh, we've got some information here. There's a plot of the film. So basically, Adam Sandler, he works, right? As most people do. He's an architect, and he's trying to use the TV at one point, but he can't because there's too many remotes, and he keeps pressing remotes, and they're not for the TV. So he goes out to Bed Bath & Beyond to get a universal remote. And instead of getting a universal remote, he gets a universe remote that controls his universe. Yeah. And at first he's super happy because that's pretty cool. But eventually it starts ruining his life, and he's not happy because it's ruining his life. And eventually he dies. And then he's super not happy because he's dead. But it was all a dream to teach him a lesson by this guy who's like the devil or something. Also, his dad dies at some point. Now, take a look on the inside. Oh, other side splitting comedies. What are these? Oh, I'll Click. I should get that at some point. Oh, so these are coming soon. Well, can't wait to get them when they come out. Anyway, take a look at the disc. That's actually the remote from the film, which is, that's cool. So next up, we actually have a copy of Click on DVD, which is interesting. I think I've talked about this film before, but basically, Adam Sandler gets a remote, the remote controls his world, but then it gets out of control, and he can't control it, and he's not happy because it's ruining his life. And then he dies. He just skips to his death. But it's okay, because the guy who sold it to him, Morty, who is like the devil, he was actually teaching him a lesson to value his life. And it was all a dream. So Adam Sandler eventually learns his lesson. He's like, wow, I'm going to value my life now. And then he's super happy at the end. And it's a cracking comedy treat. Let's take a look on the inside, I guess. Oh, we got a leaflet. That's cool. We can win 20 fantastic DVDs. How do we do that? We just give them all our information. Okay, nice. I mean, 20 DVDs. Give Sony your entire home address and phone number. Deal. This is probably over now, right? I consent to Sony Pictures. I'm not reading all that. Sure. Terms and conditions. 18 and over. 30 for June 2007. The first prize is on the 27th of July. Okay, so we missed it. Unless they're still doing this for months, like after, up to now, but... Chapter selections. 27 chapters. Okay, what other films are recommended here? I'm probably not going to watch any of those, but still. That's cool. Anyway, here's the disc, which has the remote on it from the film. So, that's nice. Makes sense. Moving on. Rattling about in there. So, this movie is Adam Sandler farts in the guy from the SpongeBob movie's face, basically. That's all you need to know. Alright, the thing is, the case is broken, so the disc is just out. I might have to get a new copy of Click at some point if I see one. Just because, you know, this one's kind of broken. I mean, it'll do for now, but just going to very gently put it over here, I guess. Anyway, moving on. Next up we have Click on DVD. There's clearly a sticker here at some point. Basically, Adam Sandler gets a remote, and the remote can control his life. And that's all great at first, until Adam Sandler can't control the remote. And it just starts ruining his life, and then he dies. It skips to his death. It fast forward his entire life, and it skips to his death. And it was all a dream, actually, because Adam Sandler wasn't valuing his life. He had a beautiful life, he had kids, he had a house, but he wasn't valuing it. So this guy gave him that remote to teach him a lesson in his dream, because he's the devil, by the way. He's not just some guy. Just to make that clear. And then at the end of the film, Adam Sandler gets home and the remote is there, and he's like, not this time, and he throws it away because he's wholesome chungus. Checking the inside here. There's a disc. It's got the remote from the film on it, which is, you know, cool. It's rated 12 because why is it rated 12? Oh, strong language, moderate sex, and drug references. Okay, good to know. So, next up we have Click on DVD, which is actually it's this film where Adam Sandler basically gets a remote, and the remote can control his entire life. And what that does is it basically ruins his life, because eventually the remote does stuff automatically. It's like, oh, you skip this one time, you never want to do it again. And that ruins his life because he just starts skipping everything until he dies. Really, he just he gets a divorce and he misses it. He gets fat and he misses it. He becomes a CEO of the company and he misses it. His dad dies, he misses it. And he dies and he doesn't miss it because how could he? But it's okay because it was all a dream to teach Adam Sandler a lesson to value his life. And he does from that point on, because he wakes up in the bed Bath and Beyond where he got the remote from, and he's all good from there. The cover is kind of ripped. Taking a look at the inside here, here's the disc. It's got the remote from the film in it, which is, you know, neat. And that was it. So, moving on. Next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is it's a film where basically Adam Sandler gets a remote, and so this remote's not any ordinary remote though. It's a universal remote, but it's not any ordinary universal remote. It's a universe remote. It controls the universe, or at least his universe. I don't know if anyone else is. I don't think anyone else is affected by it, but he uses it. He abuses the power, and it eventually catches up to him because the remote takes over his life, and he starts skipping everything and ruining it, until eventually it just straight up skips to his death and he dies. And he missed a vast majority of his life, like at least half of it, maybe. But this was actually all a dream to teach him a lesson. So he wakes up in the bed Bath and Beyond, where he got the remote from initially, and he's alive still, and he appreciates his life because he he just died and now he's not dead. So I guess the lesson worked, you know, lesson learned. This is the disc of the film. That's actually the remote from the film, but in the film it doesn't say click because why would it? Next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is apparently £1 and it's a DVD and box set from somewhere. I don't think that's where I got it from, but the sticker was there, so it was wherever this sticker came from at some point. Basically, this film's about Adam Sandler playing a guy called Michael Newman, who's like an architect or something. And he gets a remote, and the remote can control his life. But the remote starts to take over his life, and it skips it. It skips, like, his children growing up, it skips his divorce, it skips his dog's death, and they get a new dog. Until it eventually skips to him dying. But turns out, none of it was real, it was all a dream. And it was to teach Adam Sandler a lesson, and it was this guy doing it. To value his life, and then he does, because he's not dead anymore and he wakes up. So looking on the inside here, we've got the disc, and this is actually the remote from the film here, so that's interesting. But yeah, that's Click on DVD. Next up is Click on DVD. So this film came out in 2006, and it's basically the Adam Sandler funny movie, where Adam Sandler has remote control his life until remote take over his life, and then he die because it skipped to the end of his life. And this was actually to teach him a lesson. It was to teach him that he should value his life, and then he does because he's like alive and he does value his life. Even when given the remote again, he throws it away because he doesn't want it anymore. But yeah, take a look on the inside. This is the disc, and it's got the remote from the film in it, which is cool. So moving on. So next up we have a copy of Click on DVD, which has like red paint on it for some reason. Not sure how that happened, but it was apparently £1 in September of something, or the 9th of September something. I'm not sure where this sticker came from. Don't know if it's where I got it from or if that was just there, but it was £1 at some point. So that's a pretty decent deal for Click 2006. But yeah, it's a cracking comedy treat where Adam Sandler gets a remote to control his life. He does the pause challenge. He does the Morg's pause challenge. I just realised the case is broken, so it doesn't close on the bottom. There's just a chip in it. Well, that's nice. Anyway. So this is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film, which is interesting. It's also scratched here. Is the back okay? Because that's really what matters. Relatively, I think it would play. No, I could watch this if I want. Or, I mean, if it doesn't, I could probably get another copy. I don't. Somewhere, maybe? Oh yeah, the bottom doesn't close. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is like this film where basically Adam Sandler gets a remote, and the remote can control his entire life. So he obviously uses his power, because who wouldn't? And he eventually, it gets to a point where the remote starts to control him. He doesn't have power over it, and it ruins his life by just skipping things constantly. And it skips so much that it just skips to where he dies. And this was actually to teach him a lesson, as it turns out. So it was all a dream. He wakes up, and it was all done by this guy, who's like the devil. And it was to teach Adam Sandler to value his life, and he does from that point on, which is, you know, wholesome and good for him. Checking the inside here, this is the disc. It's got the remote from the film on it, that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's Click 2006 on DVD. Okay, so next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is basically this film in which Adam Sandler, he gets given this remote, and the remote can actually like control his life. So he starts to use it, and he's like, this is great. I can fast forward things I don't want to do. I can pause it. I can mute things until the remote actually starts to take over him. And basically, it ruins his life because it keeps skipping things that Adam Sandler doesn't want it to skip, but he doesn't have a choice, and the remote keeps doing it until eventually it skips all the way to when Adam Sandler dies, and then he's like, oh, this sucks. I wasted my life. But it was actually all to teach him a lesson not to waste his life by this guy. So he wakes up because it was all a dream to teach him a lesson. And it's all happy, wholesome chungus ending because he's not dead and then he values his life. Anyway, take a look on the inside here. This is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film on there. In the film, it doesn't say Click on it, but it does on the disc because that's the name of the film. So you know what it is. But yeah, that's Click on DVD. So I think next up I'm going to cover Click on DVD. So this is basically a film where Adam Sandler plays a an architect called Michael Newman, and he goes to Bed Bath & Beyond to get a remote. The remote he gets is this remote, which is a universal remote, but it's not just a universal remote; it's a universe remote, and it can control his universe. You see, so he uses this. You know, he uses the power because who wouldn't? And he starts muting things, pausing things, skipping things he don't want to do, and he's wasting his life. But then the remote starts to skip things for him, and it controls his life. It starts to fast forward parts that he doesn't want to do. It starts to skip things, and he doesn't have any control until it skips to him dying, and then he's dead. Not great. So then he regrets his choices, and this was actually all a dream to teach him a lesson by this guy. So he wakes up, and then he values his life, and it's all happy, wholesome ending. Take a look on the inside here. There's like disgusting dirt there for some reason. But this is the disc. So this is like that's the remote from the film. It doesn't actually say click on it in the film, but it does here. So yeah, that's the disc. And that's Click. It's a cracking comedy treat, I would say. Anyway, moving on. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is actually this film where basically Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control his life, and he uses it for many wacky and silly things until the power, like, it's taken out of his hands. He had control of the control, but now the control controls the control. So the control is controlling the control, and the control is making Adam Sandler's life worse by controlling it, and it's skipping things that Adam Sandler doesn't want it to skip, but it's still doing it until it ruins his life and skips to him dying, right? And then he's dead. He's not happy, but he wasted his life, right? And that was actually all a dream to teach him a lesson not to waste his life by this guy, and it's a cracking comedy treat. So yeah, that's Click. There's a part where he farts in his boss's face. That's very funny. You should watch it because that's comedy. His boss saved SpongeBob and Patrick one time, and yeah, moving on. So next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is basically this film where Adam Sandler gets a remote, and the remote can control time. So he can fast forward his life, he can mute his wife, he can like turn himself green. So yeah, it has all the functions of a remote. He can change languages and stuff. Like he listens to people in another language because they're his clients, and he's listening to what they want, and then he does it, which is his boss likes. Good job, Adam Sandler. For your comedy extras and more, go to mymovieextras.co.uk. I will do that. This was apparently £1 from wherever this came from at one point, which is nice. Take a look at the back here. It's a cracking comedy treat. I would definitely say it's a cracking comedy treat. It's also copy protected. It probably is, but I also want a DVD that's a bootleg and literally just a copy of it. So, is it? Take a look at the inside. Oh, we've got a leaflet here. Claiming your movie's extra is easy. When did this expire? Doesn't actually say. Did this expire? There's a chance this just didn't expire. Like, it doesn't say. If anyone wants a free unique code, there you go. It might have been used because this movie came out over like nearly 2 decades ago. Here's the disc. That's actually a remote from the film, but in the film it doesn't say Click on it, but that's what it looks like. So yeah, that was Click. So moving on. Next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is it's basically this film where Adam Sandler plays a guy called Michael Newman, and he gets this remote, and the remote can control his life. It can like fast forward it and pause it and stuff, and he starts using it to get to his big promotion at the company. Epic. I don't know what the logic is flawed there. Really, you would think to get you get the remote, the thing you would do would be like, I'm gonna skip work and skip to my free time and hang out with my family. No, this dumbass just fucking skips time with the family. Gotta get to work. You don't have to work. You could just skip it if you really want to skip something. But this was actually to teach him a lesson that he shouldn't waste his life and he should value his epic family and stuff. And then it starts skipping forward for him automatically until it skips to his death, which he doesn't like. But after he dies, he wakes up and it was all a dream, so it's okay. It was to teach him a lesson by this guy who's the devil. And it's a cracking comedy treat. Take a look on the inside. This is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film. It doesn't say click on it in the film, but it does here because it's the disc. So yeah, that was Click on DVD. Anyway, moving on. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is apparently £1 from Kex at one point. Again, don't know if that's where I got it from or if that's just where it came from at one point, but it was there at some point. So this is probably a cheap price to pay for a cracking comedy treat, I'd say. But basically, the plot of this film is Adam Sandler, he gets a remote from a guy at Bed Bath & Beyond called Morty, who's this guy. And the remote's magic. It can control his life. He can, like, fast forward time, he can mute things, he can skip it. It's great, truly good for him. But eventually the remote controls him. He loses the control and it controls him. It starts skipping his life. It skips when his dad dies, his kids grow up, he gets fat, he gets a divorce, it's not great. And then eventually he dies, which was actually all a dream. So none of it happened. It was all just a really long dream, I guess. And it was to teach him a lesson by this guy, Morty, again. And he's super happy when he wakes up. He's still in the Bed Bath & Beyond. And he's so awesome and happy. He goes to visit his parents and he goes over to his family and he's super happy, you know. And when he gets home, in the kitchen is the remote. And he looks at the remote, he's like, how am I going to use this? And he goes, no, and he throws it away. So he learned his valuable lesson. And that was the film Click. Take a look on the inside of the disc. This is what it looks like. So that's the remote from the film there on the disc. In the film, it doesn't actually say click on it, but it does on the disc. So very good. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we have Click on DVD, which is actually this film where basically, the case is different here. This case has been replaced with a different one. That's interesting. This is not the original case, I don't think. Cool. So, if you haven't seen this film, basically, Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control time and fast forward, like, his life, and he starts wasting his life, and he doesn't appreciate it enough. And then the remote starts to skip forward for him automatically, which eventually leads to it skipping to his death, and then Adam Sandler's super sad because he just wasted his life. But he wakes up and it's all a dream to teach him a lesson about valuing his life, and then he's super happy because he's alive and he values his life from that point on. Wholesome Chungus story. Cracking comedy treat. Take a look on the inside here. This is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film, but in the film it doesn't say click on it. That's just on the disc because it's the disc for the film. You gotta know what it is if you're one of those freaks who throws away the cases for some reason. But yeah, that was Click. So I think the next one we're going to cover is probably going to be Click. This is the DVD of Click. Basically, if you haven't seen it, this film is about Adam Sandler, and he plays a guy called Michael Newman who works and stuff. He gets a remote at Bed Bath & Beyond from this like magic guy who's actually the devil, but he doesn't tell him that, called Morty. And he uses it to control time. And he skips forward and he skips backwards, and like if he goes backwards he can't like change things though, but he can look. He can just be there. And he starts wasting his life. So he's not valuing his life. And then the remote starts to skip automatically for him without him asking, you know? Until it skips all the way to him dying, which isn't great for him. So he dies, but he wakes up because it was all a dream to teach him a lesson by this guy. And he does learn his lesson, you know, he values his life from that point on. This is not for rental, it's rated 12 because it contains strong language and moderate sex and drug references. So, you know, be warned about that. This isn't your wholesome, chungus, family-friendly movie, although it kind of is, but yeah. Take a look on the inside here. Oh, we've got a leaflet, that's interesting. This is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film there, but in the film it doesn't say click on it. Should we take a look at the pamphlet here? Okay, this is the chapters of the film, it seems. Okay, there's 27 chapters. This film's an hour, 43 minutes, and then if you like this film, you'll probably enjoy these other ones, which is good to know. Oh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. That's interesting. We just have to fill out this entire survey and give them all our personal information. Okay. And has this expired? I'm reading the fine print. Okay, wait, this is the terms and conditions. Aged 18 and over. Oh, 30 for June 2007. Well, maybe they'll still accept it if we're a little late, you know. That might not be a firm deadline, so I guess I'll send this off and hopefully I can win 20 fantastic DVDs. I'll update you guys on that later. Moving on. So next up I think I'm going to cover Click on DVD, which is it's basically this film where Adam Sandler gets a remote, as you can see here, and it can control his life. You know, you got the options here. You can play golf. I genuinely don't remember him playing golf at any point in the movie. I might be misremembering. I can't say I've watched this movie that much, but he can mute his mother-in-law. He can delete his parking tickets. He can pause his kids growing up. He can fast forward working out. He can slow-mo his vacation. He can skip his hangover, which he's currently doing. His finger's slightly right to the button, so we still see the text, but he's apparently pressing it. And he can rewind to prom night. Just flip it over, look on the back. It's a cracking comedy treat, yeah, I'd say so. And we've got special features. We've got a cast and crew commentary, deleted scenes, and featurettes. So, you know, it's more Click than you saw on the big screen, which is good to know. We've got a bunch of credits here. It's got an audio description track. All that good stuff. Take a look on the inside now. It's got a leaflet on the inside, so we'll definitely short a look at that. This is the disc. This is the remote from the film, but in the film it doesn't actually say click on it. It's just the remote, but they put that on the disc. Okay, click on the inside here. We got chapter selections. So these are like the chapter menus, I'd assume. It's 27 of them apparently. Over here we got other releases we might like, I guess. So, you know, if you do enjoy the cinematic masterpiece of 2006, Click, you might enjoy one of these. Or anything on the back. Oh, 20 fantastic DVDs we can win. Okay, how do we do this? We fill in a survey and give them all our personal information. Nice. And then, to avoid missing out, okay, we send it there. This is definitely expired, right? Given your consent to blah, blah, blah. Sure, whatever that says. Terms and conditions. The promotion is open to UK residents aged 18 and over. All entries must be received by 30th of June 2007. Well, that's tragic. We missed the deadline by, you know, a few years at least. Guess we can't win those 20 fantastic DVDs. Tragic. So, moving on. Next up, I actually have Click on DVD, which is basically this film where, so Adam Sandler, he plays a guy called Michael Newman, and he's kind of just Adam Sandler, but like, yeah, in like he's just this like kind of the same guy that Adam Sandler is in most films, really. But he basically gets this magic remote, and the remote can control his life. So he starts to use this power, as anyone would, but he uses it too much, and he wastes his life to work for some reason. And this is actually like it gets a bit dark and sad in the second half as the remote takes over him. It starts doing stuff automatically without Adam Sandler wanting it to. So it starts skipping parts of his life. He has no control over it until eventually it skips all the way to his death, and Adam Sandler dies, and his entire family is there crying. But Adam Sandler wakes up, and he's not in heaven, but he's in bed, bath, and beyond. You know, next best thing really. It was actually all a dream to teach him a lesson about valuing his life, and he does learn his lesson, which is wholesome chungus. And it's a cracking comedy treat. Taking a look on the inside here, this is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film, but in the film it doesn't say click on it. That's just for the disc, I'd assume. So yeah, moving on. So, next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is apparently £1 from a Kex at one point. Don't know if that's where I got it from, but apparently it came from there at one point. And this is it's a film starring Adam Sandler. Basically, Adam Sandler gets a universal remote that controls his universe. I have a question for you. What if, hypothetically, you had a universal remote that controlled your universe? What then? I won't go into spoilers too much, but some pretty bad stuff happens when he starts abusing the power of this remote. Taking a look on the back here, what we got okay, the plot of the film. It's a cracking comedy treat, apparently. Got some special features, so you know more Click, which is always good. And then just a bunch of information really. You can pause it and read it if you want. So looking at the disc here, that's the remote from the film, but it does, in the film it doesn't actually say click on it, if you're wondering. That's just for the disc. So moving on, I guess. I think next up I'm going to cover Click on DVD, which is actually, so it's this film where basically Adam Sandler plays a guy, and he gets given this magic remote that can control his life, and he starts abusing the power of this remote, right? He's wasting his life, you know, he's not valuing his family and stuff. He's turning himself green, and then back to normal, really, for a little bit. But eventually, you know, he gets his karma because stuff. It's a wholesome and chungus, like, message. He gets his karma. The remote skips forward to the point where Adam Sandler dies, but he's not actually dead. It was all a dream to teach him a lesson. And then he wakes up and he's all okay, and he learned his lesson because he's happy because he's not dead, as most people would be. Taking a look on the inside, this is the back of the disc for some reason. Flipping it over, is it actually click? It is, okay, that's good. So this is the remote from the film on the disc there. It doesn't actually say click on it in the film, but it does there. Moving on, I guess. So, okay, next up's an interesting one. So this is actually Click on DVD, which is basically a film where Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control his life, and he starts abusing the power of it and wasting his life, and eventually gets his karma when the remote takes over, starts controlling his life for him, skipping things he wants to do and wasting it for him. He's like, no, I actually don't want this, but you were already doing it, Mr. Adam Sandler's character. And eventually he dies, but he wakes up, and it was all a dream, so it's okay. Look at the side here, though. You can see this one's been completely, like, sun faded, so someone left it outside for weeks on end for some reason, and now the colour is drained from it. It's Adam Sandler, and he's got no colour. That's great, that. So yeah, that's interesting. Looking at the back here, there's a bunch of information. You can pause it if you want to read it. Cracking comedy treat. Let's take a look on the inside. So this is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film there, which in the film it doesn't say click on it, but it does here, which is cool. And yeah, that's Click on DVD. So moving on, next up we actually have Click on DVD. So next up we have Click on DVD, which is, it's basically a film where Adam Sandler, he gets a remote and the remote can control his life. So he abuses the power of the remote, and it starts to not go great for him when the remote like teaches him a lesson by saying and it starts to control his life for him. And it starts ruining it, like skipping major parts, like he misses his kids growing up, he gets a divorce at some point, he misses that. He gets fat at some point, and then he gets skinny again, and then his dad dies, and then he dies. The second half of this film's pretty miserable, honestly. The first half is like, I'm Adam Sandler. I'm doing silly things. I'm muting the guy in the car singing. I'm slowing down women to look at boobs. This is silly, wacky comedy. The second half's miserable, but it is a cracking comedy treat. So taking a look at the inside here, we got a disc, and that's the remote from the film there. And that's actually the title of the film. In the film, the title isn't on the remote, because why would it be? But yeah, that's the remote. So, moving on, I guess. Next up, we actually have got Click on DVD. This is basically a film where Adam Sandler gets a remote, and the remote can control his life. So he starts using it, obviously, but he uses it too much. He's wasting his life. He's skipping hours and days at a time, until the remote takes over and he doesn't have power. The remote's like learned what Adam Sandler wants to skip, and it's doing it for him automatically. And it keeps doing that until it gets all the way to the point where Adam Sandler dies, and then he dies, and he's not happy about it because he's dead, obviously. But it was actually all a dream to teach him a lesson, and it was done by this guy who originally gave him the remote. And he does learn his lesson because he values his life from that point on, and that's the wholesome chungus message of the movie. It's a cracking comedy treat. The case here is chipped slightly for some reason, so that's that's good. Taking a look on the inside, this is the disc for the film. That's actually the remote from the film on there, which is interesting. In the film, it doesn't say click on it, but it does on the disc, so you know what it is. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we actually have Click on DVD, which has been on a whole wild journey. There's a sticker here. It was £1 at one point, and it was $7.99 at another point. So that's it's been all over the place. What a journey this copy of Click's been on. It was wacky, that. Checking in the back, there's another sticker. This is a $7.99 sticker. I'd assume that's from the same place as the other one. So yeah, it's been on a whole weird journey until it finally got to me. So basically, this film's about Adam Sandler, and he gets a remote that can control his life, and he starts abusing the power of it until the remote takes over and starts controlling his life for him, which he doesn't like. Until it controls his life so much, it just straight up skips to the end and he dies. And this isn't great, but it does teach him the lesson to value his life because it was all a dream, and he wakes up and he's happy from that point on. Taking a look at the inside here, this is the disc. It's not for rental, so just so you know. And that's actually the remote from the film on there. We've got the title there, which isn't on the remote in the film, and the other language one, which is surprisingly also not on the remote in the film. But yeah, there's a remote, there's the disc, and there's the case. Moving on, I guess. So next up we have Click on DVD, and this is basically a film that released in 2006 in which Adam Sandler plays an architect called Michael Newman, and he wants promotion at work, so he was using this magic remote he was given to try and get it, and he doesn't, and he farts in his boss's face, and then other stuff happens, and yeah, some wacky stuff happens, and then some miserable stuff happens, and he dies, and then he gets taught a lesson because he actually didn't die. It was all to teach him a lesson. And that's it. That's the cracking comedy treat from 2006, starring Adam Sandler. Taking a look on the inside, the case here is different once again, so that's interesting. And this is the disc, and that's actually the remote from the film, and that's the title of the film. But in the film, it's not actually on the remote, obviously. But yeah, that's Click 2006 on DVD. So moving on. Next up, we actually have Click on DVD, which is this film starring Adam Sandler, Kate Beckinsale, and Christopher Walken. Where Adam Sandler plays this guy called Michael Newman, who gets given this magic remote that can control his life, and he starts using it because why wouldn't he? He's been given some godly powers, you know. He can go back in time. He can go to the future. He can do all this wacky stuff. If he goes back in time, he can't change things. By the way, he could just look, but he can still do it. He can still have just perfect memory. He could go on a game show. They ask him a question, he can pause, just go find the answer, and boom. I'm pretty sure I think his wife asks him what song was playing on the night we met, and he's like, oh, I know. He goes back in time, and then he finds out, and then it's like wholesome chungus or something. Yeah, pretty sure that happens. That might not happen, but yeah. Take a look at the back here, and there's the cracking comedy tree. And take a look at the inside. This is the disc. That's actually the remote from the film there. In the film it doesn't say click on it, but it does here because it's the disc. So yeah, moving on, I guess. So next up we actually have Click on DVD, which is basically this film where Adam Sandler gets given a magic remote that can control his life, and he starts using it, and it's like, oh, this is great. I can skip stuff and not do things I don't want to do. If he skips it, it just puts him on autopilot, and it's like he's just doing generic things really, but he doesn't know he did any of them, so he starts agreeing to stuff that he doesn't want to do because he was on autopilot. But yeah, that's what happens, and he starts abusing the power so much that the remote takes over to teach him a lesson, and the remote starts to control his life for him, and he doesn't have any say in it. So eventually, it skips all the way to the point where he dies, and then he's dead. So he's not really happy about that. And once he's dead, he actually wakes up because it was all a dream to teach him a lesson about valuing his life, and then he learns his lesson, and he's super happy because he's not dead, and he starts to value his life, and that's the film. It's got a wholesome chungus message, and it's a cracking comedy treat. Take a look at the disc now. That's the remote from the film there, which is in the film it doesn't actually say click on it, but it does in the disc here because it's the disc, so you've got to know what film it is. Yeah, there's Click on DVD. Moving on. Oh, next up we've actually got a Click on DVD, which is so it's a 2006 comedy movie where Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control his life, and he starts to use the power of the remote, and he uses it so much that he ruins his life, and then the remote teaches him a lesson by taking over and ruining his life even more with him not having any say. And then he skips all the way to him dying, and he's just watching his life passing by, and he can't do anything about it. And then when he's dead, he's not happy, but he wakes up, and it was all a dream to teach him a lesson about valuing his life. So that's wholesome. It's a cracking comedy treat. So this is the disc here. Yeah, that's actually the remote from the film, but in the film it doesn't say click on it. It just does for the disc, so you know what film it is if you want to put it back in its case, I guess. There's Click. So I think we'll move on now. Next one I've got to cover is Click on DVD, which was apparently $1.99 each or free for £5 at one point, and it was a quality guaranteed. So yeah, that's been somewhere, I guess. Taking a look at the back here, we've got special features. We've got it's not for rental, and it's a cracking comedy treat. If you've never seen this film, I won't give too much away. Most people probably know, I reckon. basically, I'll just summarize it. So Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control his life, pretty much, and that's where I'll leave it. I'll let you see the rest on your own. Ooh, a fucking toothpick. All right, that's good to know. Great. I'm so glad that it comes with that. What's this leaflet? It's got the chapters of the film in there. Okay. And then other films we might like. Anything on the back? Ooh, we can win 20 fantastic DVDs. That's good. I reckon this competition's over. I'm not gonna lie. Not to be like negative or anything, but this film came out in 2006. It have to be 18 and over. 30th of June 2007. All right. Well, yeah. No, not great. Guess we missed out on that. Kind of sucks. Here's the disc. That's the remote from the film there, and in the film it doesn't actually say click on it, but it does for the remote. So I guess I'll put the toothpick back in there because, you know, might need that when I'm watching Click one day. No idea why they put that in there. I can't imagine I don't know how that got there, but next up we've got Click on DVD, which is basically this film where Adam Sandler gets a remote that can control his life, and he starts to use it, but he uses it too much. He starts wasting his life. So to teach him a lesson. This guy, well, it was to teach him a lesson the whole time, but this guy called Morty gave him the remote, and the remote, he didn't tell him this, but he actually starts skipping parts of his life that he skipped before, like automatically. And this was all to teach him a lesson about valuing his life. And it skips all the way to the point where he dies, but it was all a dream. None of it happened. And it was all to teach him the lesson of valuing his life. So once he wakes up, he does. He's super happy that he's not dead, and he truly does value his life from that point on. So yeah. That was Click on DVD. Let's take a look on the inside now. Here's the disc. That's actually the remote from the film there, but in the film it doesn't say click on it, because why would it? It just does for the disc. So, finally, we have Click on DVD, which basically is this film where Adam Sandler plays a guy called Michael Newman, and he gets given this remote, and the remote can control his life, and he starts to use it, and he's like, oh, this is great, I can do this cool stuff. But he starts wasting his life to work for some reason. But eventually he gets his comeuppance because the remote starts to control his life for him, and he doesn't have any choice. And it's wasting his life for him, and Adam Sandler's forced to watch until eventually it skips all the way to the point where he dies. And once he dies, he realizes he's not valuing his life enough, but he wakes up and it's all a dream, and he's all okay, and he values his life from that point on. Take a look at the back here. We've got cast and crew commentary, deleted scenes, and featurettes. It's also not for rental. It's on the inside. Okay, this is the disc. So it seems to have the remote from the film on it and the name, but in the film it doesn't have the name of the film on it. So yeah, that was the Cracking Comedy Tree, and yeah, happy April Fool's Day.